In this series, I'm going to show you exactly how you can build a fully functional app without writing a single line of code. We're going to do this step by step, going from idea to a working app. And the best part is AI is going to do most of the heavy lifting. So if you want to learn exactly how you can do the same, you're going to want to watch the entire video. So let's get started. So to start, what we're going to try to build is a simple task manager app. All we want to do is to have an app where we can put our daily to-dos and then to track whether or not we've completed them. So the first step before you start diving into any of the vibe coding tools like Replit is you need to first come up with a requirements document. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use ChatGPT for this. We're gonna use this prompt. I wanna make a simple, we'll call it to-do and task manager app that is capable of recording all of the tasks that I do for a day. I want it to generate a full requirements document that can be used in a vibe coding tool. Please make sure that the requirements are in paragraphs. I wanted the design to be inspired by Apple. It should also have some stats that I can see all the tasks I've completed. Okay, perfect. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna copy this requirements and we're gonna paste it right here. And then we're just gonna hit start chat. So now Replit's it's gonna read our requirements and then it's gonna generate its own plan as to how we can actually build this app. Perfect, so now it's given a plan and all we have to do is approve this plan and let's see what it comes up with. So while it's building the initial design, let me explain a little bit about the interface. It's very simple. On the left-hand side, you have your agent. It's similar to speaking to ChatGPT. And then on the right-hand side, this is gonna show you a preview of what your app will look like. Perfect. So now let's take a look at the first version of the app. So it looks like we have a calendar, looks like we have all of our tasks, and we have a little stats here, and looks like we've got some upcoming. So the next step is to just start testing what's working and what isn't working. So let's see if we're even able to open up a task. Okay, so the first thing I'm noticing, I'm not able to edit a task. Let's see what happens when you add a task. This is a test, and we'll make it due today. Okay, looks like I'm also not able to add a task. So it looks like we have the visuals, but we don't actually have any real functionality. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna try to get it to help us to start with editing existing tasks. So we're gonna use this prompt. Right now, I am not able to edit a task. Can you create the ability to edit the task? And then we are also gonna give it a snapshot of what we're talking about using the pencil icon. So one of the good things about Replit is that you don't just have to describe what you're doing, you can actually take a picture of it so that way you can see exactly what you're talking about. Let's see if we're actually able to get it to be able to edit the task. So you can see what it's doing. It's starting to say, I see the issue, the task editing function isn't working properly. Let me fix several problems, and then it's going to start going through and fixing each of the problems. Okay, so now it's asking if we want to add a database. I'm going to actually hit add a database. The database will simply be a place where we can actually store the tasks so that way they can persist when we open and close the app. Perfect, so now let's try to see if we can edit the task. We'll click here, update. Okay, it still doesn't look like we're able to edit the task. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this here and then write a note and say, I am able to open the task editor, but the update task button doesn't work. Can you fix it so that when I hit update, it updates the record for that task? Okay, let's give it a test. Let's try to update this. And it's still not working. So I'm gonna say it's still not working. Can you see if it is not saving to the database? So the reason why I'm trying to get it to check the database is essentially the database is where everything is stored. So if it's not being updated, it's just like having a table where you just didn't change the values. So I'm wondering if it's maybe just not able to change the values. So that's why I'm trying to see if this will kind of help to guide it along the way. So we're going to see if it works. If not, we're going to keep trying. And this is the one thing about vibe coding. You're going to have to keep experimenting. You're going to have to keep trying. the key is going to be focusing on just one problem at a time. All right, let's give it another try. Let's see here, test, and it works. That's great, perfect, and it works. Let's try to change the priority, update, that works too. What else do we want to change? Let's try to do maybe the 15, and let's see here, 15 update, and it changed it to the 14th. So there's something going on with that date there. Let me see what happens if I change it to 16, 15. Okay, so there's something wrong with the date, so I'm going to try to fix that right now. When the update works, however, when I try to change the date, it sets the date one day behind the day I actually selected. Okay, let's see here. So now it says it's fixed. Let's go here and let's select 16 and 16. Perfect. So that's working now. So the only thing I don't really like is when we go to the update and we click the date, we actually have to like type it in. It would be better if I could kind of like click from an actual calendar. So let's see if we can do that. So I'm just letting it know that the last task works. And instead of me just having to manually type in the date, I want to be able to select it from a calendar. So let's see if this will work. All right, so let's see if this works. We're going to click here and perfect. We have a calendar selector. We can select the calendar. The only problem is we can't go back in the past. So now I'm going to ask it to make sure that we can select any date on the calendar, even if it's a past date. And let's also take an image here and we'll say this works, but we can only select dates in the future. We need to be able to select all the dates past or future. And then we'll give it a copy of the image and we'll see what it comes up with. Perfect. So let's test this out. We can click here. We can select past date. We can click update. It updated the task. It's also reflected on the calendar. We can see that that little blue dot there is working. And I'll do another date here. Update task. That's working. Let's also update the description just to make sure. Description again. Updated description. So we can update the title. We can update the description. We can update the date. And we can update the priority. So the update function is completely working. Now what we're going to do is we're going to test if the new task function is working. Now the hope is that because we made a lot of changes to the update function, that really when you're adding a new task, it's pretty well much of the same thing, that maybe we don't have to do a lot of changes there. But we need to test it out first to figure this out. So let's try and add a new task. So I'm going to add a new task. I need to go running. And we'll just select that for today. And this is going to be a high priority. Add the task. Perfect. So it was actually able to add the task. And let's just make sure that we can edit the task. Go running again. And let's make this on the 15th. Change the priority to normal. Update. Awesome. So we're actually able to add a task that's fully functioning, fully works. Let's make sure that we can mark off when a task is complete. Let's say I actually went running. And let's say I did this. So that's great. We're actually able to mark off that the task is complete, but our stats aren't updating. So we're going to need to fix our stats. So we're going to take this. We're going to do this. This works. However, the stats are not updating when I complete or add tasks. Okay, now it says that it's completed. Let's take a look here. We've got 2 tasks completed. Let me see here. What happens when I click this? Okay, so we know how many tasks we have for today. We've completed 3 tasks. We have 2 pending. 1, 2, 0 pending. Perfect. So it looks like all of the stats are updating. What if I undo this? Okay, and then let's say I undo, today's the 16th. We're going to undo this one and we'll undo the other one. Perfect. So it looks like the stats are working, and it also looks like this upcoming section is also working as well. So the next thing we got to do is we're going to see how this schedule tasks. Actually, we'll do the mark all is done first. So let's click mark all is done. Okay, so that doesn't work. So now what we're going to do is we're going to ask it to fix that. I only want it to mark all the tasks as done for the selected day, not all of the tasks. Okay, it says it's done. Let's take a look. So we have today 16th and we still have some tasks. So if I click mark all is done, perfect. See, it only marked the tasks that I had for today done. Let's click on the 17th now. So that's now the selected date. Let's click mark all is done. And it did it perfect. It did it for the 17th. That's awesome. That works now. Okay, so let's work down the list. And the next thing we got to do is we got to check schedule task. Let's click schedule task. Nothing happens. So we need to fix the schedule task function. But first we need to think, what is it that we want the schedule task to do? Now, if we really think about it, when you add a task, you can already add it in the future. So there's no need to really schedule a task. So I'm actually going to remove this button because it doesn't really add any value. We're going to ask it to replace the schedule task button with the today's task button. So it's just going to show all of the tasks that we have for today. There's going to be more than one way of doing the exact same thing, but I think it'll be a nice little way to do this. Okay, let's take a look at this. So if I click, do we have any tasks for today? We do. Click today's tasks. Perfect. And it shows today's tasks. What's also good is when we click up here, we can see that the today's task button also works. Awesome. The completed task button works. The upcoming one works, today and all. Okay, another feature that I'd like is when I click on the actual date, I want to show only the tasks for that day. So this works when I select a day on the calendar. I want to only see the tasks for that day. Okay, it says it's done. Let's take a look. So when I click on the 15th, awesome. Click on the 17th, 17th. Okay, so it's kind of working, but not really. So we're going to say when I select the 17th, the tasks that are showing are from the 16th. Can you fix this? Okay, it says it's fixed. Let's take a look. 17th shows the 17th, 16th shows the 16th, and the 15th. That's perfect. So now the issue is that when I select all, I'm not seeing all the tasks anymore. So I'm going to have to do this. Let's say this works. However, when I select the all button, I want to show all the tasks instead of the tasks for that date. So the filter for the date should only be applied if I am not selecting all. Okay, so when I select the date, so it basically undid that work. So what I'm going to do is we're going to add a new tab and call it selected. This will make it a little bit more clear. Can we add a new tab called day and only show the tasks for the selected day? This tab. Put this in between all and today. Okay, let's test this out. So when I click day, perfect. It shows it only for the 16th. This works. And then when I click all, I can see them all. When I click today, I see the ones for today. When I click upcoming, I can see upcoming. And when I click the completed, we can see all of the ones that are completed. So this completely works, and that is awesome. Okay, so the other thing we need to test is we're going to test this add a task button up here. Make sure that that works. Testing, and let's select today. Normal priority, testing, perfect. So we know that our add task buttons, both of them work. We have this button here, which is the day mode, night mode. That works. And the last one is week. So the week view doesn't work. So we're going to need to fix that. Let's see if it's able to do this. We're going to click this. Okay, this works. When I select month, the stats section doesn't update to change from this week to this month. So we're going to do this view here. Can you fix this? So we could have decided to show a week view, but because of the way that the tasks are, we're not really tracking them by time. We're just tracking them by date. We really don't really need to see like the week view, but I think it would be more valuable to see like how many tasks are you finishing for the month. Okay, it says it works. Let's test this out. So when I click week, change to week. When I click month, it changed to month. And if we look at our completed tasks, we had one that was completed later on in the month and 2 that were completed in the same week. So I select week and yeah, that looks like it works. Perfect. And night view works. Okay, so the last thing we're going to try to do is we're going to see if it's responsive. So if I click screen size, let's use iPhone 16 Pro Max. It's pretty responsive, but there still is a few things I would probably change. Let's say, can you make the app fully responsive? Some of the text is overlapping. And then let's just take a picture of this. All right, let's take a look. So it looks a lot better. Yep, that's working. And the stats are still there. That works. And make sure we can edit. Yep, we can edit. We can add. That's awesome. Perfect. And let's just make sure full size still looks good. Okay, looks like everything is working. So as you can see, you can actually build a full app without knowing how to code. The real key is just breaking down all of your requirements into very simple steps. You can see I ran into some issues and then I needed to iterate and I just focused on fixing one small problem at a time. I gave as much context as I could so that we could finally understand what the ask was. My last step always when I'm trying to build these kind of apps is to then try to make it responsive. Now this type of app I would mainly want to use on a phone, but if I wanted it to also be a full-fledged application that can be used on a desktop, I would actually continue to iterate and work on this. But this is a completely done, fully fledged app that you could use yourself. Again, the key is in the process, breaking down every single problem into very small steps and fixing just one thing at a time. So now this is just the first in the entire series. So if you're wondering how else you can start building even more bigger, better apps, then you're going to want to click right here.